So they put her in the hearing booth, and for fun, he starts taking it up to see if she can hear or not, And so she goes up and up and up and up and up, and she's still doing this. And he's going, that's insane. So he opens the door and he says, Sherry, you can hear what dolphins hear. I mean, could you really hear those things? And she said, oh, yeah. Matter of fact, I hear different things. That tinnitus that we were talking about, it's oftentimes different frequencies. Like when you walked in the room, it was a particular note. And he said, what note? And she said, I don't sing very well, but and he drops to his knees without being able to help doing that. And he said, what'd you just do? And she said, I don't know. That's the sound that I hear coming from you. And I was just trying to mimic it. So he says, stay right there. I'll be right back. Closes her in the booth again because she's dangerous now. You can't let her out and have people falling out on you. So he runs over and gets the other doctor. And he says, watch this. Watch what Sherry can do. This is a cool trick. So he walks back in, opens the door, and he said, do you hear me again? And she said, I do. And he said, can you do it again? And she said, I think so. So again, she bursts out in this, boom, he falls to his knees. They set her up in research. Now she is not going to do any more transcribing of notes because they think this is way cool. They have found something that they've never been able to do. What they ended up doing was taking Sherry to all kinds of different people who were in hospitals, people who had had strokes, people who had had seizures, and they would ask her what note, and she would find it on a piano, an electronic piano, and they started documenting things. Whenever it was a certain note, it was low in vitamin C. Whenever they found a certain note, it was heavy metals. Whenever they found another certain note, so they started documenting what those frequencies meant for somebody. And of course, in homeopathy, then, like cures like, and that's part of the curiosity. Anyway, when she came up to lecture at the school, the research that she was involved with stemmed out of the fact that she said, I was kind of embarrassed to go to the two doctors and tell them, but I was having some personal problems at home. My husband and I were really not talking to each other. Matter of fact, we were sleeping in two separate bedrooms, and I couldn't understand why. I kept asking him, what did I do? Can we go to therapy? And he just said, no, I don't want to talk about it. And I can't pinpoint a problem. I'm just having my own issues right now. That's all he would say. And so the grandkids are always scheduled. I think she has 4 or 5 grandkids. And the way they scheduled it was each grandkid would get their own week with grandma and grandpa. The first grandkid came through. It's the same thing. They're still sleeping in separate beds. The grandkid doesn't know. They're both being cordial to each other when the grandchild is there. By the time like the second or third grandchild came, something happened. They're at the zoo and her husband reaches over and grabs her hand. And he is being so freaking lovey-dovey. And they get home and he wants to sleep in the same bed again. And she's going, I don't understand what happened. I just do not have a clue what happened. So she's laying in bed and she's trying to think, when did this happen? When did this very first thing happen where he just got weird like this? Well, he used to talk to his dad on the phone every day. And at the end of the phone call or at the beginning, one or the other, he would always say, hey, Dad, it was good to hear your voice. Or I just called to hear your voice. So she got this bright idea. She'd already recorded her deceased father-in-law's voice in all the research that she'd been doing. She'd gotten everybody to come up and record their voice just to see what it was, because they were looking at deficiencies of all kinds of things. Anyway, so she drags the grandkid up there, and this grandkid was an exact mimic of her deceased father-in-law's voice. And she went, wow, that's really weird. So she's talking to the two doctors. Their research stemmed from that experience. What they did was they took abused women and they asked them to record their significant other's voice and bring it in. And what they found out is that, you're attracted to opposites. Toby and I, even though we're both outgoing people, We're completely opposite in so many things. You know, we tell Trevor that with his girlfriend. You're going to be attracted to somebody who's just completely opposite. Toby adores music. He's got to have music on all the time. I like silence. I think better when it's silent. So I don't want to be where there's a bunch of hubbub or noise. So what they did was looked at these voice patterns, and they found out that the woman was missing a particular frequency in her voice. And so they gave a little recording device and told the individual for at least 30 minutes a day, can be while you're trying to go to sleep at night, but you're going to listen to this recording. None of those women went back into the abused relationship. Now, how weird is that? So Trevor was having his temporal lobe seizures. I decided to take Trevor. Do you remember going to Ohio? I don't know if you remember this at all. And she just asked him a bunch of questions. Talk to me about what you like. And at the time he was playing baseball. So he's in a soundproof room and he's got a big microphone in front of him and he's just talking about himself. And then the recording goes on and then she doesn't do any diagnosis or anything else. She's looking for the frequencies that he's missing to be in good health. She makes a recording for him, which to me sounded like white noise. You ever heard the old-fashioned TV sets that now they're going 24 hours a day. So I don't know that young people have ever heard this, but used to be at midnight, the TV stations went off and you'd hear shh. That's white noise, okay? So to me, it sounded like white noise. My experience was my mom and my dad went with me to Ohio with Trevor. We're in the airport and he goes into a full seizure. Drops down on the floor. I'm digging in my suitcase because I have a little carry-on suitcase. I get the headphones and I put him on him and instantly, have you ever seen someone have a seizure? They go into postictal state afterwards where they come to and they go, what happened? And then you tell them you had a seizure. Oh, what happened? You had a seizure. Oh, sorry, my brain was. What happened? Yeah, because the brain doesn't have enough sugar. It just ate up all this sugar. So they really don't know until they kind of get lucid again. But that's called a postictal state. Trevor goes from having this moment where he's seizing to instantly sitting up and he said, do you have any cars or anything that I can play with, like some Matchbox cars? And we're going, that is just too stinking cool. Now, the drawback is you really need to be very close to where Sherry practices because she's constantly got to tweak the frequencies. So we didn't get to do that for very long, about 6 months or so. But, I mean, he doesn't, to my knowledge, you haven't had a full-blown seizure or anything that you're aware of. Beginning of high school. Yeah. So anyway, that's frequency medicine, and that's using sound. So that's not necessarily homeopathy. But if you look at what Albert Einstein said, he even believed that the future medicine would be the medicine of frequencies. So what is a frequency? You've got the law of vibration, which states that anything that exists in our universe, anything, whether it's seen or unseen, when analyzed in its purest and most basic form, consists of pure energy or light. So even in the Bible, it tells us, you know, the light and how important going to the light is. It resonates and exists as a vibratory frequency or pattern. So that you understand, every substance known to man has its own unique frequency. It's so healthy for you to go outside and go camping and be out with trees and grass and rocks and moss and all that kind of stuff, because you will get the healing benefits of all those frequencies. This is what a frequency looks like. So the wave is always moving in a particular direction, one way. And you have what is called the wavelength, which is the length between one peak and another. And the reason that's important is because when we start talking about high frequencies and low frequencies, those peaks get further or closer together. Then we're looking at the hertz. So that's the frequency between the two peaks. It's the number of cycles per second. We have higher frequencies, which have a shorter wavelength, and lower frequencies, which have a longer wavelength. So I want you to visualize that there's this baseline point, a thread that goes right through the middle of where it would equalize your peaks. Does that make sense? You're just going to cut it right down the center. And that is some magical point that every single time something passes through that line, you get a burst of energy. The reason I want you to visualize that, and again, it's one of my word pictures, is because the lower the frequency, the further from health you are. The lower frequencies are nosodes, or diseased tissue. And the higher frequencies are healthy things that donate things to us. So even in people, you've got people who are energizing to be around. You love to be around them. You feel like you almost feed off of them. And then you have these other patients that come in that you see their name on the schedule and you're going, oh my God, I just want to go home. She's a sucker. Every time she comes in, there's nothing wrong with this lady, but every time she comes in, I'm just completely spent. You know what I'm talking about? As we all have patients like that. So again, the lower frequencies are equated with illness. Nosodes is a homeopathic term that means diseased tissue. So if I have strep, that would be a nosode. Sarcodes are healthy tissue. So we actually make homeopathic remedies of strep, and we would call that a nosode. Or we could make a homeopathic remedy of healthy tissue, sending energy to the body, saying, this is what we want. So I'm going to use as an example, Toby had stage 4 melanoma in 1999. It went to his left lung. One of the things that we did was I asked for the slides from MD Anderson so that I could make an inversion of them. So I am making a nosode, right? Because they're cells of cancer. So I just want you to understand what the difference is. If we had gotten lung tissue from a healthy individual and I made a homeopathic remedy, that would be a sarcode. Flower remedies and your essential oils, they vibrate at such a fast and high frequency. And remember, we have that little string going in between there. So if every single time that frequency passes through there, you're getting a burst of energy. That is why people make claims of these essential oils, that they work miracles. For a lot of people, they do. So don't discount that. I just can't explain to you exactly what it is it's doing other than sending them a frequency. Every object has its own natural vibratory rate, and this is called resonance. One of the basic principles of using frequencies as a transformative and healing modality is to understand the idea that every part of your body is in a different state of vibration. So think of an office. You have all these employees and they're all working together, but everybody's in their own vibratory state. You have the front desk person who's being chewed out by somebody. You have an assistant who's dealing with somebody who has anxiety. You're dealing with the doctor who's trying to keep everybody happy. So there's all these different states of vibratory rates, but they are coming together as a collective to work for the betterment of that patient's health. So every organ, every bone and tissue, every system all have a different state of vibration. And I've given you here a chart just to show you how not only in your body, but look at a healthy body, and we're up around 71 and 90 for a brain, and then we go down to a body that has cancer. Wow, we're at 42. We don't have enough life force there. And then we look at somebody beginning to die, and it goes down to 25.
So real quick,
yeah.
How's that measured?
In hertz.
Right. Like, do you hold on to something? Like,
that's a good question. I don't know how. I do know that when I was in Utah and I was having my doubting Thomas moment at one point in time, they were using different fruits and vegetables and putting them on an oscilloscope, which is something that measures hertz. I think usually it's used in geophysics for the ground, but that's part of science. I don't know. Heck, I'm the one that can't tell you how the cell phones work, and obviously I can't work my own computer. Okay, so this is something I hope will work to show you. You know those people that get involved with yoga? Okay, we used to think those were weirdos too. You know, those are people that eat organic and they drink clean water and they tell you, you have bad energy, get away from me. And then they get really involved in yoga and they are given a mantra. So they sit there and they go, I'm making joke because I used to think these people were weird, and now I'm the one that's trying to bend like a pretzel to do the yoga moves. Gotten there yet, but let me see if this will work. Hopefully it will.
Those are so cool.
I don't know how to make it big screen. No. Does that make it go smaller? Oh, stop. Okay. Was that not cool? So the idea is when you say that, you're trying to get all of your cells to communicate with each other. It's like going over the loudspeaker and saying, hey guys, pay attention. I remember if you've ever taken like an EMF class, emotional freedom technique, or EFT, sorry, where they tell you to say something and then you tap on different places of your body in an effort to try to say, hey, and one of the things they have you do is to look in your left eye, to look in a mirror and say, only healthy, happy cells are allowed to live in my body. If you're not a healthy, happy cell, get out. And as odd as that sounds, I had my old neighbor when we used to live over in Deauville that, yeah, we'll show that later, that was doing research down at MD Anderson with neurolinguistics. In other words, neurolinguistics are what you tell your body, what you tell other people. And your child has a messy room and you walk in and you say, what a slob. What you're doing is training that child to be a slob. Instead, you say, you're such a neat and orderly person. This doesn't make sense that your room would look like this. And what their cells hear is, oh, I'm not supposed to do this because I'm a neat and orderly person. It's all in the languaging. You never tell a child, oh, you're being so bad. No, what you say is, this is not meeting my expectations of you're such a well-behaved child. What's going on here? So again, that's all about frequency type stuff. Let's see if I can get it to go to the next slide. Really? Okay, because there's another one coming up. So we're going to talk about now resonating. And you know what? Dr. Francis had a staff meeting the other day, which was amazing. I texted you to tell you. All day long, all I could think about was he took this concept and brought it to the people in his office, and how true that is. But if you hear these eclectic people say, oh, dude, I resonate with that. And you think, really? You know, I remember Toby the first time I said, oh, don't put that out to the universe. And he said, what does that mean? And I said, it means that you just put that out there and that person is going to call now. And he said, oh, yeah, that's really weird. But then he'd come to me and say, oh, my God, you will not believe this, but they called. And I said, yes, I know. You put it out to the universe. I mean, when you pray, what do? You put out some kind of a frequency to the universe that you're wishing or hoping something would come true. And if you believe in prayer, then you elicit a response. And that's all based on vibration. So here I want to show you exactly what resonating is. And we're going to use the example of a tuning fork. And again, I hope my little thing pops up here and works correctly. So now I know how to do it, right? This one, maybe. I learned something today. Oh, they didn't touch that fork. How come it's vibrating? Right? And then I should be able to get out of it and be back here and advance. No, it's not going to advance. What am I doing wrong here? Give me a second. We get through these video parts. Okay, so what we want, let's use another example of that. Have you ever been, oh my, hold on. It's doing something. That's the second, but we don't need that. You got the idea here. Have you ever been told that I don't know how many of you have been in therapy before, but in therapy, a lot of times they will tell you to meet someone's tone. Especially if you have like a patient, they come in and they are really depressed about something. You don't want to be on cloud 9 because you just won the lottery. You are not meeting them. So you're trying to resonate with that individual. And so in an office, again, everybody will be at a slightly different, but if you can get on the same page and be like two tuning forks trying to come together, that's what homeopathy does, is try to get something that is not working to function. So in homeopathy, we're doing it based on frequency. And frequency can be anything from sound to a pill, which is what we're going to show you, or a liquid. So we talk about spontaneous synchronization, which is the coupling of linear oscillators called entrainment or mode locking. And there are some studies on how this works. Another video. Okay, this is a good one. This shows you people getting on the same page. You ever worked in an office where the women start cycling together? Oh, I bet you have. Okay, they're all going at different, they're doing their own thing. Watch what happens. So these are all people at their homes with their families, but now they come to work. So we take the same people vibrating at different places. They're on the job together, which is the wood. And watch what happens. This is what happens in the armed services. You take people that are all different and you give them a common goal. And they all work together as a team in order to get that done. Isn't that cool? It just keeps going, so. Okay, so again, we have to, I'm sure I'm doing something wrong here, but. So this is how important you got a negative Nelly in there. You've ever read the book, Fill Your Bucket? That's a great book. I know I gave it to Trevor one time. It's the concept that people give you compliments and it fills your bucket. And you want to fill people's buckets. So it's a good thing for you to give someone a compliment, even somebody you don't know. You're walking out the door and you say, oh, I love those shoes. You might not even like their shoes, but if you say that, you filled their bucket. And you can have a completely full bucket and one negative comment will completely drain your bucket. That's me. I mean, I can have one person tell me that they were unhappy about something that I did, and my bucket could have been overflowing. And the next thing I know, I have a hole in my bucket and it's drained. So when you say something negative to someone, you put a hole in their bucket. And if they're like me, you just drained them. And if that makes you feel good, great, but it shouldn't. Again, that's homeopathy using words. And so in this instance, it says negativity can only affect you if you're on the same frequency. If you're able to brush it off, I applaud you. I would love to say that I have such thick skin that when somebody says something, but I'm the kind of person that is codependent and I want to make everybody happy, which is just not possible. And when I get upset, you don't want to be anywhere near me, but then I blow over afterwards. So the idea is vibrate higher, figure out what works for you. If it's essential oils or Bach flower remedies or listening to some kind of music, which we're going to use here as an example in a minute. So any positive emotion can cause a cell to vibrate at a higher frequency. It could be, how many times have you heard when you get cancer that you need to send funny cards to those people? Because laughter elicits endorphins, which raise your vibrational frequency. So it's a good thing for you to do. And the negative emotions cause the cells to vibrate at a lower frequency, which is not what you want. Is there another? Okay. There's a great book called The Mozart Effect. If you've not read that book, it's another one to look at because it does have some great statistical information in there. They also have a CD pack that comes with it. So if you've got kids, get it. Because the research shows that you can put different pieces of Mozart music and it makes your child more intuitive. You put in another piece that makes them more creative. So all of that music tickles different parts of your brain and actually makes your body do different things based on the frequencies. So I'm going to show you something here if I can get this one to come up. Come on. Why we're so poor. There we go. Nope, go back.
Can you talk about the Japanese guy?
No, I'm going to talk about Dad. Okay, so before I play this, I want to tell you just a little story. Okay, so Toby told you that we met on the ambulance, which is true. He decided that he was going to propose to me at a Christian rock concert of a group that we were particularly fond of. And so he made arrangements with the group. And oh my gosh, it was at Astrodome, the old Astro Arena outside, and it was pretty hot outside. And we waited maybe an hour and a half so that we could get good seats. And then we sit down and they play one song or two. And then Toby says, I have to go to the bathroom. And I said, oh my God, are you serious? It just started. And he said, yeah, I got to go really bad. So he leaves. Okay. And the next thing I know, the group is up there talking and they said, hey, we have a special guest we want to bring out here. He's got a special question for a young lady. And the lady next to me is going, isn't that your boyfriend? and I'm looking, I said, oh my gosh, it is. So he walks out and they said, now he has a special question for a young lady. We want her to stand up. Well, about 8 women stand up. And I'm going, sit down. That's my guy. And they made him get down on one knee and propose to me. And the song that he wanted them to play was called Just Say Yes. Now, it's supposed to be Just Say Yes to Jesus, but he wanted me to just say yes to him. And they asked him, are you sure she's going to say yes? And he said, she's so polite, she would say yes here and tell me no later. But anyway, that song now has very special meaning for me. So I can be in a really bad mood and I put that song in and it unwads my panties. You know, it gets me into a good place. You never heard the expression getting your panties all in a wad? Okay, well, it makes me chill out. It doesn't take the whole song for me to do that, but that song always works for me. Now you have to know that we were listening to the actual group. And when we left, of course, we wanted CDs of the group. Back then, they didn't have CDs. They were actually cassette tapes. So I just didn't want to embarrass myself to tell you how old I am. And we had little cassette players that you put them in. And we actually had vehicles that you put cassette players in, cassettes in to play. And then when all of a sudden my truck wouldn't, I got a new truck and it doesn't have a cassette player anymore. It had a CD player. So we had to go get burners to figure out how to transfer it onto there because we were too cheap to go get the actual CD. My point is, it's a copy of the group onto tape. And now my CD is a copy of the tape to a CD. And now it's a copy from a CD to a thumb drive. So it is so removed energetically from the group. Do you get that? It's just a copy of a copy of a copy, and it still elicits the same response. So I just want you to hear, because it's not the full song, but I'm hoping it will play just a little bit. Maybe.
Is it on your computer, the song?
Well, it's in the PowerPoint.
If it's
Well, hang tight. It should play in just a second. Everybody has their own song. The advantage to music is Toby and I can walk in a restaurant and our favorite song is playing. We will lean over and squeeze each other's hand, maybe give each other a peck because we're real affectionate to each other, even in public. I don't care. But the other couple walking in with us doesn't even know that music is being played. It doesn't resonate with them. Do you understand that? And so I'm actually using music as a homeopathic remedy in this instance. And I guess it's not going to play. So.
Say if you didn't have it on your computer, it actually has to read it from your computer to play it.
Okay, well, it's being retarded today. So I will. It's a real upbeat song. So, but everybody has their music that is important to them. Oh my God. Yes. And so when you look at combination remedies, which we're going to talk about also, it is, when you're talking about just like arnica, okay, that's one song. That's one particular song. When we use combination remedies, so we start talking about, and I've got here an example of one, that's the post-dental surgery. It has a bunch of different things in it. I want you to think of it as a jukebox. Now, my jukebox for the homeopathic remedies that seem to work for me emotionally do not have rap or heavy metal or screamo. Those things elicit a bad response for me. I want to get out of the car and kill somebody. It's a very negative response. Whereas my jukebox also doesn't have certain country songs in it, as odd as that is. Toby likes to listen to real old time twang country songs, and somebody ran over their dog and their wife left them and he's drunk, and that just doesn't do anything for me. There's only certain songs that really I enjoy. So my jukebox has those songs in it. So let me.
Yeah, I got you.
Okay. It picks up. See, the part I have on here is. Okay, you don't have to play anymore, but it does pick up through the rest of the song. But it's something for me, and so that's my point in all of this. But frequencies can't fix everything. So my example that I put on here is, if you're hungry, you're not going to take a homeopathic remedy of a steak dinner and think that you're going to be full. And we know that you cannot take a dead tooth and revive it. For me, that's like trying to give mouth to mouth to a corpse that's about to be buried. Is too late. And it's not just too little too late, it's just too late. But you will hear people say, oh, we can give a homeopathic remedy, especially people that are ignorant and don't know about homeopathy, and we'll bring that root canal tooth back to life. And so you have patients that come in and say, oh no, I'm working with someone and they're giving me a remedy to bring this root canal tooth back to life. And I'm looking at them going, really? I mean, it's just not going to happen. Yes, it's frequency, but I can, if someone plays the song to me when I die, I'm not going to sit up and go, oh, thank you, I feel better now. It's just too late. Oh, I'm not liking this. Okay. There are people that will ask me about the science of homeopathy. You are really getting into the quantum physics. I'm going to try to make this as basic as possible. But if you really want to get into the research, there's tons out there. And I've tried to give you little snippets of a few of them. We're still talking about frequency, although we're not into the actual homeopathic remedies. Another frequency medicine is Rife technology. You will have patients come in and tell you that they are using Rife, which means they are using a computer-generated frequency to try to elicit a response on cells. Traditionally, Rife is used to shatter a cell. So the original design in Rife was that they were looking at cancer cells and trying to fracture those cancer cells. Is that picking up this or me? Because I don't care if it's me. I want to make sure that they do get this stuff. Okay, so this is a funny analogy of what happens, and I think you're almost through with my little videos in here. Oh my goodness, stop. How come she's not showing up, right? She didn't show up on that screen, did she? Trevor, I may have to have you be my video person. That's this button? Okay, let's drag this back so you can see.
Yeah, you can hold on a second.
But can I make it bigger?
Yeah.
This is rife. Hopefully that doesn't play, right? Because I closed it. I do. This is me being technically challenged in so many different ways. Okay. Oh, now it's going to be big. So glad that we're live. Okay. So another way that we emit frequencies is with crystals. You're going to have patients that come in, honest to God, they've got crystals shoved down their bra because they feel like they need to have those crystals with them for the day. You have other people who have crystals in their pocket. You have other people who will have jewelry made out of certain crystals or wear particular jewelry because they believe it's giving them energy. It actually is. The only thing that I am aware of that elicits a negative response is the diamond. And you can discharge that negativity by taking it outside and putting it in towards the ground, which is grounding. So you hear people like that do Tai Chi, right? Did I say that right? Tai Chi or Tai Chi. That it's big for them to go outside and take your shoes off. So it is good for your kids to go outside and run around in the grass without those shoes on. Yes, they get parasites from all the squirrel poop and bird poop and everything else, but okay, deal with that. It is very healthy for you to ground yourself and get the earth's energy. We're inside all day long with shoes on, so we don't get the benefits of Mother Earth. So these crystals actually emit a frequency. And until I started teaching, I was forced to teach an energetic class that was outside of my comfort zone. I really started getting into this. And a healthy thing for you to have, if you're worried about that EMF that we were talking about earlier, is a piece of lapis. Lapis lazuli it's a blue stone. It's expensive, so you don't want to get a really big piece. But it's a blue stone with these little gold veins in there. There's one that doesn't have gold in it. It's called satellite. That does not the same thing. So lapis lazuli. If you Google it, you'll see a pretty picture of it. So this is an amethyst crystal. If you don't believe in crystals, what do you think is in your Pentium chip in your computer? It's a crystal. And look how much energy it holds. And you can actually, no, LAPIZ. Yes. And then another word.
I spelled it right for the first time. She messed me up.
Okay, sorry. So you've got your Pentium chip in your computer, which holds a whole bunch of information. How does it get that information? You type on these keys. Can you tell me how codes on there? How come I can pull up a Word document later? What happens? It's something in cyberspace. I don't even have a keyboard that's connected to my computer. It's wireless. It's all based on frequencies. So we use this in the conventional world. It is not so woo-woo. You look at what happens with water crystals, and you're going to think here that I'm woo-woo-y, but it's not. Water has crystals. You see that in snowflakes, right? We look at magnification of snowflakes. If you look at Emoto's work, Dr. Emoto just passed away about 1.5 years ago. What he did in Japan was it's called Messages from Water, if you've never seen it. He took water from a polluted environment and he tried to make a crystal on a petri dish. You know, those glass dishes. He froze it and tried to make a crystal, and he looked at it, and it was really funky. It was ugly. But then he spoke to the water, or even more so, he cut out a word and pasted it on the petri dish, so he didn't say anything to it, and he could change the crystal to be different. The same nasty water, he could put different words on there, and he would get different crystals. So when I heard this, it made me think, because you're going to see if you look at his book, the word thank you is very powerful. The word love is even more powerful. So it made me think. As a child, I was raised to bless your food. Thank you for this food that we're about to receive. What if by you saying those words, you actually transform something energetically in that food so that your body receives different energy? Don't know. I taught a biology class in Trevor's homeschool, and we did a project the one year where I had the kids take 2 jars, which is Emoto's work. All we were doing was duplicating it. You have 2 jars of rice. One jar you write on there, I hate you. And the other jar you write on there, I love you. And you will find that the I love you jar ferments and turns into a wonderful rice wine. Whereas you will find the one that you say I hate you turns into black and rots.
I did the same experiment in high school with heavy metal music.
Right. And so you see on here what happens with heavy metal music. It changes. It doesn't even make a crystal at all. So if you think about the body and the fact that the human body is 60% water, and that the brain and heart of that 60% are 73% water, 79, even the bones are 31%. Oh my gosh, we have so much water. There's another good book, The Body's Many Cries for Water, written by Dr. Batman Manji. He was in a concentration camp. He was a physician, and all he had to offer people that were sick was water. And he documented how many things he could improve by just giving the body water. So you got a headache, drink a glass of water. This is what water does for you. Everything from making saliva to helping with our digestion to helping deliver oxygen to the body. So let's just take an example. We're going to talk about coffee. Coffee, although it smells so good and it gives our jolt in the morning, one of the phenolics in coffee, which is what gives coffee its wonderful aroma and its gorgeous, dark, rich color, is a diuretic. So if you drink 4 ounces of coffee in the morning, it will withdraw 10 glasses of water from your body's cells, which makes you have to poop first thing in the morning. But it's at an expense. Now you have less water in your blood vessels, which means that your blood is thicker and you could be at higher risk of stroke. So I tell my patients that, but then I tell them, look, don't worry about it. And everybody's unique. When I look at your blood work, if I see over and over again, you're dehydrated, then you're going to have to look at what kind of changes could you make. If you need your kick from the caffeine, start drinking green tea because it's not dehydrating. It has a different phenolic. Do I not drink coffee? No, I drink coffee. Okay, so how much information is on the little key card or, your charge cards? Has information about you on the charge card. So again, I'm trying to give you examples where in the conventional world, we believe in frequency medicine. But when we try to use it in a medical standpoint, all of a sudden we're crazy. Why am I crazy? If it works for one thing, it should certainly work for the other. So now we want to get into the roots of homeopathy. You need to know that Samuel Hahnemann is actually the founder, and he was doing some medical interpretation, trying to set out to prove that actually homeopathy didn't work and these different substances. And what he found is if you took a minute amount of a particular substance. So for instance, if you took foxglove and you ate the foxglove plant and you took enough of it, you would start getting chest pain. Foxglove is digitalis. You take a small amount of foxglove, which is now labeled as a drug digitalis, it makes the chest pain go away. So his original example was the china bark off of a tree, which we know is quinine. And he used it for malaria. What he found was that if you took enough of the china, it elicited the same high fever and delirium that malaria had. But if you took it in a very small dose, it cured malaria. And we use quinine now for malaria. That was the very first proving. And so that term proving is another thing that you need to at least be aware of. If a patient comes in and they're talking about homeopathy, you would like to at least know what it is they're talking about. And so if they use the word proving, it means that someone did what Samuel Hahnemann did. I don't know where they get these people that are willing to eat a large amount of something that will elicit a response. I don't want to participate in that. It causes your diarrhea and unusual sensations where you have certain fears. of thunder or whatever, and they would document everything. So if you look through my homeopathy books, you will see, fear of dying, fear of being in a high place. So you start asking the person all these questions and looking for a match to find the correct medicine to use. So the provings you can get, for instance, we have here Byronia alba, which creates the symptoms of pain in your joints and muscles, always with a splitting headache. Both are worse when the person moves, they have a fever with intense thirst, and they have a painful or sore throat. Emotionally, the person wants to be completely left alone. So if that person exhibits those types of symptoms, then that would be a match for that particular remedy or medicine for them. It's often used in flu because you might have someone who has really aches and pains in their joints, and they've got this horrible headache, and they've got this intense thirst with the fever, and just leave me alone. Go out in the other room and watch TV. I just want to be left alone. That's the Byronia. When we look at that individual, they might not be a match for that, so we would look at another remedy and find something for them. When we look at the different terms, this is really important because I embarrassed myself years ago by saying the wrong thing. I was using the word homeopathic. You need to go see a homeopathic. If you're going to use that, it should be they're going to go see a homeopathic physician, because the person is a homeopath. That's the correct terminology. You're going to send him to go see a homeopath. Whereas the actual practice is homeopathy. So if we're looking at the treatment of this, we're going to use homeopathy to take care of a particular problem. And then we have a homeopathic, which is the actual little vial or medicine that we're going to use. So which homeopathic remedy will we use? It's not all that hard. I just didn't want you to embarrass yourself. It's kind of like when a patient comes in and you say, oh, you have Lyme's disease. It's not Lyme's, it's Lyme. So I just don't want you to look like an ignorant individual, so you can learn from my mistakes. I'm happy to tell you where I've screwed up. So what substances are used in homeopathy? Oh my gosh, we will use anything. Plants, animals, minerals, metals, toxins, the imponderables, like you're going to get a sample today of x-ray because I asked my rep to put together a little goodie bag, and he gave me a bunch of stuff, and I just threw them in the bags today. So you're actually going to have a homeopathic, that's the little thing, of x-ray. So how do they make the x-ray? It's an imponderable. It's made from x-ray. Now, your patient's going to ask you, because if you're using it in your office, what's it made from? It's made from x-ray. How do they do that? So we have what we call remedies. If you take a class from Borean, they're going to use different terminology, which is very frustrating for me because I'm also certified through them to be a homeopathic physician, but they use different words, which kind of plays with my head. More people than not use these terms, so I chose to use this for you. Remedy, the substance you want to use to correct the complaint or ailment. So you have a homeopathic remedy in your little bag that's in there. Examples of these in the traditional world, so that again, these people go in and they buy Zicam. Help, with your allergies. You spray it up your nose or swab it up your nose. They have one called No Jet Lag. People buy that all the time. They don't even know it's a homeopathic remedy because they don't read on the box what it is. They actually think it's some kind of herbal or, just a regular drug. For muscle strains, you would want to use Arnicare or Arnica. Ignatia is for the person that's fearful. Sepia is another one that's used often. Sepia can help if a woman has facial hair growth, but we use it for other things as well. Substances become remedies through a very specific process called potentization, which involves sequential dilution and succussion, succussion is the term. If anybody's ever seen me make a remedy here in the office, and I succuss the bottle afterwards, that's the act of succussing. Remember, we get back to me saying that the real group made a cassette, and we made a CD, and then we took it into a thumb drive. That, if you look at that in the plant or homeopathic world, would be my dilutions. Still get a response from it. The remedies are labeled by the ratio of dilution and number of times that they've been diluted. So for instance, you could have arnica at a 6x, but you could have arnica at a 12x. You'll get this as I try to break this down for you. Trust me, I've spent hours trying to not dumb it down, but make it as simplified for you as possible. So the labeling helps discriminate a homeopathic remedy from an herbal. That's one of the reasons that we do that, because if you get the herbal of arnica, that's the actual mother tincture of it. It's not a homeopathic remedy. It also helps differentiate it from a mineral, because you can have many different minerals that we use. Like we might use a homeopathic of magnesium or a homeopathic of iron. It's not the mineral iron, it's a homeopathic of it. And this is called the potency or dilution. And so you'll hear people say, I'm using it in a 6x potency.
So what would be the difference between the homeopathic part of that, magnesium iron versus the actual mineral?
It sends the information. By the time I finish this, you'll get it. I'm trying to take it in chunks. I'm eating an elephant chunk by chunk. So we have different forms of delivery. And I tried to bring a few different things here for you to see. I have, and you can pass this around. These are 2 ointments. This is a combination remedy, the post-dental. These are injectables of Traumeel and Zeal. This is a liquid, but it's an eardrop to go in a kid's ear. Here we have some tablets of different kinds. And so you just pass all that around so you can see the different forms that it comes in. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. The most common cream is arnica. Amazing stuff. Amazing. Right on there. Amazing. It also comes in a pellet. And the reason that the pellets are good, of course, the cream is great for an infant. You can put the cream on there, but you can dilute the pellets in just some water. Take hot water, and then you can put it in their baby bottle. And so if they've got problems with fever or whatever, then you can actually give them a homeopathic remedy that way. You can't really give the pellets under their tongue because they're either going to chew it up really fast or they're going to choke on it. So that's probably not a good thing to do. The ones that come in liquid, unless it's an injectable, they're usually in an alcohol base to stabilize them. I don't like to give kids alcohol. There is a company called Homeovitic Solution. If you go over to my office, you'll see it. They have incredible homeopathic remedies. They're very friendly for children. They don't use alcohol at all. So if you've got a patient that comes in and they are a recovering alcoholic, that would be a company that you would want to use. So how are they taken? Well, they could be under the tongue if it's a liquid or a pellet. In this office, we use an awful lot of that post-surgical remedy, and we tell the patient, put it under your tongue. But I also tell them the glass bottle does not confine the energy. So remember, we get back to the little fish going through, or somebody opening a garage door and that garage door opener energy going through, or someone changing the channel on the TV set. That glass bottle does not confine the energy of that substance. So if you're going to go to sleep, put a bathrobe on, stick it in your pocket so that you're still deriving the healing energy from that. It can be placed on your skin topically. I have told patients that were in renal failure after having surgery. Their partner will call me and say, oh my God, Bob just had his surgery, but he's in renal failure and they've got him on a bypass machine right now. And I'll tell them, I want you to take this particular remedy, and there's a specific point on your toe, which if you got kidney problems, your kidney point is on your toe. And I want you to rub this in on that point. Homeopathy is amazing. Again, you're playing a song to get their cells to do what you want them to do. So in 1900, wow, that was a long time ago, right? There were 22 homeopathic colleges in the United States, but by 1931, there were only 2. Anybody have an idea why? Antibiotics came into play. Penicillin. And they shut them down. It's voodoo. And if you go to Europe, homeopathic pharmacies are everywhere. You see, if you go anywhere in Europe, anywhere, you see the green Red Cross. Now that sounds weird. The cross that we see, that's a red cross that lets you know that this is a first aid station, or this is a pharmacy, or you could get help here. They don't have red ones. They have green ones. And that's their symbol that they're homeopathic remedies here. And they're everywhere. Honestly, you go down the street, you probably see 20 or 30 of them. I was just amazed going back and forth. And so does it work? I'm trying to give you 3 examples here. I'm not going to go through this. You can read this on your own, but I tried to find some examples for you to show you, yes, homeopathy works, and it can be double-blind placebo studies. So there's some really good research out there where it works. Where the most interesting thing to see it is in pets, you know, because they don't have a placebo effect. You can tell them, Rover, I'm going to give you Bach flower remedy so you will not have anxiety. He doesn't know what you're going to give him, and he doesn't know whether you gave it to him or not. But when you see that response, you're going, oh my gosh, that's pretty cool, which is why some veterinarians now will do things like burning moxa on your animal, which is just another Chinese therapy, but they'll use homeopathy. Now you can go to PetSmart and you can get Rescue Calm in a big bottle of water, and you're pouring it in your dog's bowl. You don't have to do that. It's cheaper if you go get a bottle of Rescue Remedy and put some in the water. It'd be a whole lot cheaper than what they have to offer. Oh yeah.
Well, get post-dental, so what is this?
Every surgery. His question was, what's the post-dental used for? There's a pre-dental that has things in there to prepare the body for the lymphatic drainage. Say, hey, you're about to undergo a trauma. It also has some things in there to help with anxiety. It is an alcohol base. So if your patient comes in and says, I don't do alcohol, they're not going to be able to use that particular product. But then we use it post-surgery because it's got arnica and a bunch of things to heal, and it's corded, which we'll talk about later in here.
So you wouldn't use antibiotics in a sense?
True. When Bill was, I can't speak for David, so I don't know. David would have to answer for him. But when Bill was practicing, prescriptions of antibiotics were not given.
That's not true.
No, for surgery?
You prescribe antibiotics all the time.
For pain, but not during surgery. You didn't. They didn't walk out like it at. Well, I don't want to say name on video, but at another office, I know that they walk out with a prescription of antibiotics for every surgery, whereas
Dentistry, that's not even. They don't prescribe antibiotics for every single surgery.
some offices do.
Some offices may do that.
Yes, as a standard protocol. So yes, this would be a replacement for that. And when a patient then calls and it's not working for them, which is, trust me, is going to be rare. When we started using this in the office, the one thing that we were floored about was that people did not call back as often for pain prescriptions. So we would tell them, we want you to take this remedy, but we're also giving you a prescription for Vicodin or Tylenol 3 or whatever it is. If you feel the need to take it, please take it. I mean, this is not the time to be a martyr and suck it up.
So this would help some patients with pain?
Yes, absolutely.
As far as pain, inflammation, infection are kind of the 3 main things.
Yeah.
That the post.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
So I see it has like 1 to 10 drops. I mean, how do you determine which?
Oh no, I tell them 10 drops, and I tell them the frequency under the tongue, and the frequency should be often in the beginning and then taper off as the next day arrives.
Yeah, we tell them every 15 minutes for the first 2 days. Okay, very aggressive.
Oh, 10 drops there.
Yeah,
You just squeeze.
You get about half a dropper full and just ice to that.
So when you squeeze it up, I tell them don't be anal about this. You don't have to sit there 1, 2, 3, 4. Just squirt it under the tongue. Okay, that is part of the beauty of homeopathy. Like me listening to the song, I don't have to listen to the whole song. I get the gist of the idea. I start singing along with the song, and now I'm unwadded and I'm in a good place. So let's talk about the mother tincture so that you understand. The mother tincture is an herb. Mother tincture is the product as the strongest it can be. So we're going to use the product arnica. We're going to say it's a tincture, a mother tincture of arnica, which means that the substance has been soaked in alcohol over a period of time to extract the essence of the plant. Oh my God, the herbology teacher that I had when I was at Capital University. You talk about, when I use the term eclectic, that means I'm rolling my eyes and going, oh my God, I can't believe this. But it's good that you get exposed to people like that, because sometimes you buy into some of their stuff. We had to go out and pick a plant at a certain time of day because his belief was most of the energy went into the root at night. And as the dew would come out of the plant, more of the healing energy was in the leaf at that time. Because, you know, in some plants, you do use the root, like ginger root. And then there are other times where you use the leaf, like papaya leaf is good for bringing a platelet count up. Not the papaya plant, not the papaya seed, the papaya leaf. So we had to go out there and ask the plant's permission to cut its leaf and thank it for the healing energy. And then we had to come bring it over and, okay, you're where I am or was. And then we had to soak it in alcohol for 30 days in order to make our mother tincture. So mother tinctures are typically a 1 to 10 dilution of the plant or the substance that you put in there. But now we have a 1x potency. So we're talking about strengths or dilutions. So when we think of strengths in drugs, we're going milligrams and it goes up higher, 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 right? You got 1 milligram, yeah, that's not very good. You got 10 milligrams of Valium, you're getting there. 20 milligrams of Valium, you're floating. Okay, so you have to think just the opposite, because the more dilute you get in homeopathy, the stronger it is. It's a complete inversion of what you've been trained your entire life. So in order to make a 1x potency, you're going to take an empty bottle and use 9 parts of alcohol and 1 part of that mother tincture that we had. So the example is 9 cc's of alcohol and 1 cc of mother tincture of the arnica that we're using. Then you succuss the bottle, right? That's how you succuss the bottle. By doing that, you impart the energy of that product into the water of the alcohol. So basically, it's like taking a stamper and going arnica, arnica, arnica in that water. That's what the succussion does. You go up 2x, 3x, 4x, 5x, 6x, 9x, 12x, 15x, 24x. The x is the ratio of 1 to 10. So each time 9 parts of alcohol are used with the 1 part dilution, it is going to create your different dilution. So your example is you take your 1x now that we have, and a new bottle with 9 parts of alcohol in there and 1 part of the 1x. You put it in the bottle and now you have a 2x. Succuss it. I take a new bottle. I put 9 parts of alcohol in there. I take a 1 part dilution of the 2x. Put it in the bottle. What will I end up with? A 3x. And it goes up exponentially from there. So if you think about, I took a bottle that had been succussed 10 times, and now I have a bottle with some of that 10 times in there, but now I'm succussing it another 10 times, you will understand why it's becoming more powerful. Just bear with me, and I'm going to try to get you there. The C potency and the M potency, because you're going to see different remedies that will have a C on there or they'll have an M. The same principle, but instead of taking a 1 to 10 ratio, it's a 1 to 100. This is the very same principle. So you take 99 drops of alcohol, 1 drop of the mother tincture, and now you have your C potency and a higher. You take another 99 drops, you take some of that C potency, put it in the next one, you've got the next higher. The M potency is 1,000. 1 to 1,000. By the time you get to an M potency, you are in the etheric world, in the very emotional world. So I'm going to try to tell you a story and see if you can get there with me. Okay, I'm where you guys were at one point in time. And I try to remind myself that I was at that point one long ago. And I'm sitting in a meeting, and people that took EAV have heard this from me. EAV, and this guy is telling me that I'm doing it wrong because of whatever, and I believed him that I was doing it wrong. And the person that we were listening to that particular lecture was Vincent Speckhart. Vincent Speckhart, I don't even know if he's still practicing, but he's an oncologist off on the East Coast, and he uses the same technology that I use when I'm looking at the stuff that I look. And so he's lecturing to us. He said that his son-in-law had just finished doing his dissertation and really needed to earn some money. So he said, hey, come on in here and run the stats on what I find on patients, and let's see what we can find. Very interesting. He would work on patients and he would say, I have an organ that is not looking as healthy as it could be. And what balances it? What brings it up to vibrating like this? What song makes that organ happy? Is an M potency of oat cell carcinoma. What does that mean? It means that somehow your body is picking up the energy of oat cell carcinoma. Then they would come back maybe 6 months, a year later, and he would check that same organ, and now they're in the C potencies. It's working its way backwards, which means in the conventional world, it's becoming closer to the mother tincture. He said, by the time I'm in the C potencies, I'm talking to the person. I'm going to give you a homeopathic remedy, and I'm either going to prevent you from getting cancer, and you're going to think I'm a genius, or I'm the biggest quack because you never got cancer. I don't care. What do you want me to do? Now, if you wait, then we'll be able to conventionally diagnose this cancer that I'm finding right now. Well, for most people, they would say, no, give me the remedy. But there's a lot of people who go, yeah, it's kind of woo-y. I don't know. I'll just wait. But then once they get the cancer, they go, oh my God, that's amazing. So in homeopathy, you're looking again for that frequency. So in the M potency, that's the thing that you give to people. You're not going to be using that in a dental office. You're not going to buy an M potency. And I've got that in here a couple of different times. You're going to be sticking to the X's and to the C's just because you are. This is when you're working with a homeopathic physician, a homeopath that is usually using classical, not combination remedies, and they're in the M potencies because they're trying to work out issues that are deep in your cellular memory. And then you have the LM, which is a 1 to 50,000 instead of the 1 to 100. And so again, we're just talking about potencies or strengths of those different remedies.
Those get more expensive when you get into this.
No, is that not weird? You would think because it's so stinking time consuming to get up there. Now, homeopathy is really inexpensive to use. So the value of potentizing, of diluting, is that we can take a